So we're going to tell a story about a flying saucer which belonged to a little boy, and it was a toy flying saucer. The little boy had received his flying saucer as a present from an alien who'd landed in his garden some weeks before. And now the alien was long gone, but the little boy had his toy flying saucer. One day he decided to get his flying saucer out and play with it. So he flew his flying saucer out into the garden and over the neighbor's garden. When they saw the flying saucer coming, they screamed, "No! Look, there's a flying saucer coming. It must be aliens attacking us." The little boy thought it was very funny, and he could make the flying saucer do whatever he wanted just by thinking about it. He just had to think up and it would go up, or down and it would go down, left it would go left, and right it would go right. Then the little boy made his flying saucer land in his garden, but then something happened which surprised him. There was a buzzing and a whirring noise, and the door of the toy flying saucer started to open. And then out came some little men, very small, no bigger than your thumb. And those little men were actually little aliens. "Hello," they said in a squeaky voice. "We know who you are." And the little boy said, "You know who I am? Who are you?" And they said, "We are aliens. We have come to be your friend." And the little boy was very happy. Just then, the neighbors kicked their ball over the fence into his garden. And they called out, "Can we have our ball back, please?" So Aidan said to the little alien friends, "Shall we help them?" And the friends said, "Yes, okay." And the aliens marched out of the flying saucer and picked up the ball and carried it to the edge of the fence and then threw it over the fence. Well, you can imagine the neighbors were very surprised to see what a good toy this boy had. The toy was the flying saucer with its little army of aliens. Now, the little boy decided to take his flying saucer into town. And when he got to town, he flew the flying saucer over the top of all the cars. And when the cars saw the flying saucer, they were very frightened, and they all crashed one after the other into each other. And then the ambulance and the police cars had to come with their sirens sounding da-doo, 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 to see what the mess was. But when the ambulance and the police car saw a flying saucer in the air, they crashed into each other. Oh, what's Mummy just done? Then the little boy flew his flying saucer back home, and the aliens came out of it again and said, "Would you like to come in our flying saucer?" But the little boy said, "I can't go in your flying saucer. You're no bigger than a plate. How could I possibly get in?" "Oh, we'll show you," said the aliens. "These are the little aliens no bigger than your thumb. We have a special machine, and when we point it at you, we make you very, very small, just like us." And they pointed the special machine, which looked like a gun, at the little boy, and he became smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until he was no bigger than a thumb, just like the aliens, and then he could go in the spaceship. So in he went, and inside it was very interesting. There were buttons and dials and knobs and switches, and there were lights flashing everywhere. "Can I play with these buttons?" said the little boy. "Yes, of course you can," said the aliens. So the little boy started to press buttons, and every button did something different. One button made the spaceship jump, another button made it go left, another one made it go right, another made a very big buzzing noise, bzzz, another one rang a bell, ding, 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 ding. All the buttons and switches and levers did different things. But then he went to press another button, and the alien said, "Oh, don't press that one." "Why not?" said the little boy. "Oh, no, you mustn't press that one. If you press that one, it'll make you back to your normal size. It'll make you big again, and you can't be the normal size inside a flying saucer." Well, the little boy shouldn't have pressed this button, but he did press it whilst inside the flying saucer. And slowly he started to get bigger. And soon his head reached the ceiling of the flying saucer, and then he started to bend over, and he was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And suddenly he was getting so big that he was squishing all the sides of the flying saucer, and then it went pop. It burst open, and the little boy jumped out and ran into his garden, and the flying saucer looked like it was broken. But the aliens got out with a very special gun and pointed the gun at the flying saucer, and miraculously it mended itself all by itself. That's the genius of aliens. They could do many things. Anyway, the little boy and the aliens became very good friends, and every day the little boy would play different games with them. Some games they'd run around the garden fighting with swords. Obviously this was when the little boy had been made small again. Sometimes they would go in the paddling pool and splash about. Now, it was even more fun when he was little, because when he was shrunk by the shrinking machine from the aliens, he was no bigger than his thumb, and the paddling pool was very deep, so it's like being in a giant swimming pool. Luckily, he could float because he had armbands, and he swam from one end to the other. Well, that took 10 minutes to get from one end to the other when you're little. When you're big, you would jump from one end to the other in 1 second, but when you're little, wow, it takes a long time. But he and the aliens would swim around and have fun, and they'd do jigsaw puzzles together, and they played with the cars together. But when I say playing with the cars, I don't mean pushing the cars, because they were very little. They could jump inside the cars and drive them. So Aid would drive a car, the aliens would drive some other cars, and they'd drive around the room following the racetrack, because in the playroom he had a racetrack with lots of different paths. It was like a carpet with all the roads that you could drive on. So he got into one of the little dinky cars and drove all around the carpet, following the roads and looking at the roadsides, while the aliens did the same thing. And sometimes when they got to a junction, one of them had to stop to wait for the other one to pass. And they could play with their horns and go beep, 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 beep. And then the alien said, "Do you want to play bumper cars?" "Great idea," said the little boy. So they found some bumper cars. These are cars which could bump into each other. And they all got in the bumper cars, and then they started racing around the track, bumping each other. Bump, bump, bump. It was great fun. Now, they played football, and the little boy went in the goal, and the aliens were playing football, trying to kick the ball in the goal. But the little boy was quite good at saving the ball every time he caught it, and then would kick it right to the other end of the garden. And last but not least, just before bed, his mummy called him and said, "Come on, little boy, and your friends, bring your friends and have dinner." So they were still very little, so that meant that they didn't have to eat very much. So mummy got the food ready and put it in front of the little boy, and she said, "Here you are. Do you know what he had for his dinner?" 1 pea. And the pea was very big for the little boy, because it was like a giant football, because he was so small. So he ate his dinner. He ate half the pea, because he couldn't eat more than that. And the aliens each had a pea. "Would you like anything else?" said the mummy. "Oh, yes, please," he said. "Can I have a yogurt?" So the mummy got out a pot of yogurt and put a tiny drop on a spoon, a giant, well, it looked like a giant spoon, so it looked like a flood, but it was really just a tiny drop. And each alien and the little boy got a straw and sucked up the lovely yogurt. It took a long time to drink it, and then it was time for bed. So mummy and all the aliens went up to the bedroom, and the flying saucer followed them, flying behind, and landed on the little boy's bedroom floor. And then mummy said, "I'll read a story if everybody's in bed." So quickly all the aliens rushed inside the flying saucer, and the little boy jumped into his bed. And then the aliens, last one in, pointed a little gun to make the little boy bigger again, and he grew to his normal size, just like he is normally in his bed. And his mummy tucked tucked him in nice and cozy and warm and nice and tight. And then she told him a story. And the story was all about the movie called Frozen. You've seen that movie, haven't you? She told the little boy that story, and slowly he closed his eyes and went to sleep. And they all lived happily ever after. Tell the same story again? You'll always say tell the same story again. I'll tell you what I'll do, special treat. I'm going to upload this story to YouTube. I'll do it now, so when you go to bed, you can hear it again. Will you look out for it, Mummy? Yes. She said yes, so you'll look out for it, and then you'll be able to listen to it while you're in bed tonight. Bye-bye, Aidan. You want to press the red button? Well, I can't tell it again because I don't remember the words exactly. It was all from my head. I would tell you the same story again if I could, but very quickly, okay, we'll tell you what I can remember. The little boy had a toy flying saucer, which would fly around, and the aliens could make him very small or very big with their laser gun. And when he wanted to play with them, they make him very small, he would play with them, and the neighbour's ball came in the garden, and they threw it back and astonished the neighbours. Then they went into town, and there were lots of car crashes, because the cars had never seen aliens before. And then it was time to come home. And what happened when he got home? Yes, he played lots of different games with them. And then it was time for bed. And when it was bedtime, they pointed the laser gun at him, and the little boy became normal size again. His mummy tucked him in, nice and cozy and tight, and told him a story called Frozen about the... what are the names of the people in the movie Frozen? Let me think. Elsa and Anna, yes. So she told the story about Elsa and Anna in Frozen, and the little boy went to sleep. And that's the end of the story. All right, good. I'm going to stop.
It has something about Frozen?
I don't know the story about Frozen. I've forgotten it. Maybe Mummy knows it. You can ask.
Nobody knows it.
Maybe you could ask her to tell you when you go to bed tonight.